So this whole idea about, in sales, right? Sales, and I keep saying this to our new agents. I know we've got a few new agents on here, some that are just about to take their exam, like Olivia, some people that just got their exam done and they're getting started on the sales training. And I see this all the time, and you're going to get, you got to get to the point where rejection is not personal. And in sales, you can't take rejection as personal, because if you do, you're not going to last very long. Now, look, it's okay to feel discouraged. So it's not wrong. Okay. It's not wrong at all for you to feel the way you feel when it comes to rejection. Right. But I want you to put it in the proper context of what is rejection. Now let's talk about, how can it not be, so, potentially devastating? Like, some people really just kind of take it, they know in sales is that, that they're going to get it. And no matter how much you tell them they're going to get rejection, it's just not fun. It's not fun slamming the phone and, getting yelled at or getting people to, we're not interested. But you said I heard the recording, and which you should not do that. Okay. Because it depends on some states, that it's not a good thing to do, but, you can't like reference the recording, and they don't remember anyway. So it's probably one of our biggest fears. It's like public speaking is a big fear, right? Well, the public speaking is a big fear because people are fearful of getting in front of people and then saying something that causes them to get rejected by the audience. You've seen, those situations where they're booed off the stage. Like, the biggest rejection is getting rejected in a group, right? Well, rejection is one of our biggest fears. Right. And why? Why is that? Well, it's because someone's saying no to you. You've heard no a million times by the time you're like, 6 years old. Not a million, but 100,000 times. And you hear no a lot, but it's your parents. It's just that you take it personally. It's a natural thing to take it personally. But do you know that getting a no is a power? It actually is a power, if you understand it for what it is. But, when you think about it, why is it one of our biggest fears? Well, here's the thing. The reality is, you're going to get rejected at some point in your life, right? If you haven't already, you have. I mean, heck, if you're married or, you have a significant other, you got rejected by a bunch of people before you finally found the person that didn't reject you, right? I mean, if you ever been broken up with or whatever, it's just not a good feeling. And it's easy to take that stuff personally because it is personal, right? Think about this. And I've read this somewhere, is that children don't understand the concept of death. Okay. They don't understand what it means to die. But what they do understand is not being part of a family. To them, death is not being accepted inside the family unit and being rejected outside the family. That, to them, is like death to people that understand death. And back in the caveman days, look, if you were rejected from your tribe, you were out on your own. That meant death, because you didn't have the protection of the tribe to protect you. So, back in the day, right? And so, is it actually rejection that hurts? No, it's not. The rejection is someone telling you no. What hurts is your reaction to someone telling you no, right? And what the no brings, it brings that feeling of unworthiness, okay? A feeling of not being loved, not being accepted, right? The feelings of loss of acceptance. I remember something, when you think about some memories that are burned into your mind, and this is one memory totally burned in my mind. When I was in kindergarten, my dad just got stationed from Morocco. So actually, Okay, so I was born in Morocco on a United States Naval Air Station. And so I was a citizen, a naturalized citizen by virtue of being born on a Navy base. And so, but I was born in Africa, right? So Morocco is a part of the continent of Africa. And so I was my dad was stationed at Dobbins in Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia. And this is my kindergarten. I was in kindergarten. And the kids found out, I don't know how it came out. I think maybe that I was born in Morocco. And so I just remember this distinctly. This is in Atlanta, Georgia. All these white kids, right, were making fun of me. I was totally like ostracized because they said I was Jungle Boy. They called me Jungle Boy. And I was swinging on the swing. And I'm like, 5 years old or something like that. I'm swinging this, or just sitting on the swing alone by myself. And you had all these white kids around me making fun of me. And I was, crying, right? And I could just hear them saying, Jungle Boy, Jungle Boy. And, I'm just thinking, I can't believe that I'm being rejected by all these kids that I just want to have fun with and play with. They didn't want to play with me because I was a jungle boy. I was, Asian looking, right? I was already different. And so it's one of those memories I can remember like yesterday. I remember how it made me feel, all those things about rejection. And what it ended up happening from that is that the way that I reacted to it was, I'm not going to let these white kids like put me down. It was like, I hear them. I can hear them laughing like right now. And every time I hear them laughing, it's like, I got to prove myself. And so my whole life has been based on proving them wrong. And so whenever I get comfortable, I hear them laughing, and it's like, I am going to prove them wrong, and you should forgive everyone. And so I've forgiven them. You can hear it in my voice, sort of. Anyway, like I said, do I have to? Anyway, so I know what it's like, and I know what it did for me, right? And I'm grateful for it, actually. I'm grateful that it happened to me. So when you feel rejection, what do you tend to do? You tend to not want to do that which caused you to be rejected. Now, here's one thing: when I was a kid, I can't run away from how I look. Okay. I can't run away from the fact that I was born in Morocco. Okay. So I couldn't hide that. It's just, it was who I am. But what rejection leads to is you wanting to avoid it. So, so I know, man, all you guys that are brand new, the whole idea of getting leads and calling leads, the whole idea of going to someone's home that you've never been to before, everything that you're doing that's new leads to some fear of the unknown, right? And the fear of rejection when you get on the phone. And so unfortunately, what people do when they have that sense of fear and rejection, when they get rejected, is they don't want to go do anything that would make them feel like that again. So they avoid any way to feel rejected. So, it's like when you're a kid, when you go to your first dance and you have to go ask people to dance, the girls to dance, and your fear is that they're going to say no. And then you look like a fool because you went up to a girl and said, do you want to dance? She said, no. And you're like going, holy crap, and so what do you do about it? Well, you can like leave the dance and never ask someone to, and be lonely all the time. But there's people that are willing to do that. So you can stay in your comfort zone. I guess that's the point. So when you're dialing leads, when they tell you, no, I'm not interested, no, we took care of it, there's that tendency to take it personally. You start taking that rejection to you as the person. And so you try to avoid that. And that's why, how many of you got your leads and you could have dialed, like you told Jeannie, I'm going to dial Monday at 7 p.m. Okay. And then, now it's time for my follow-up call with you. I call you and I said, hey, how'd the lead dialing go? Well, I had a bunch of stuff I had to do. And, and you're telling me some excuse. I know how it is. I'm not putting you down for it. I'm just saying that's how it is. You don't know how many times I've heard the excuse. Well, something came up, and, Monday night was really not a good time to dial because I really couldn't really book my appointment Tuesday. So I figured I'm just going to dial Thursday because I know I have Friday and Saturday open. Right? How many of you have done that? You totally have done that, is that you blow it off because you don't want to do it, because you want to stay in your comfort zone and you're afraid of rejection. Come on, man. So how do you rethink this whole idea of rejection? Well, it's how you look at it. How can we look at rejection differently where it becomes the power of getting a no? How can rejection be our friend? How can we use rejection to move us forward to where we can benefit from getting rejected? So in your mind, you have to kind of make that mental switch. They're not saying no to me as a person. They're saying no to a business proposal. The business proposal is, do you want to protect your family? If you do, let's sit down. The business proposal is, I can help you take care of your family. And they say no. What they're saying is, no, I don't want to protect my family. And in your mind, you're thinking, no, Alex, you suck. I hate you, you fat Filipino guy, right? You suck. And that's what you hear. That's what you feel. When they're really saying, no, I don't love my family enough to want to protect them. Really, isn't that what they're really saying? Saying, I don't love my family enough to protect them. And I'm saying no to you, Alex. I just don't love my family enough to protect them. So I could take that. But, you fat Filipino, I'd never sit down with you. I only sit down with white people, or only sit down with black people, or only sit down with Chinese people. I know you're not Chinese, but I'm 1/8 Chinese. My great grandmother's Chinese. No, we only purebreds. We only sit down with purebred Chinese. Even some Filipinos, man. Some Filipinos call me a coconut. What's coconut? Coconut is you're brown on the outside and white on the inside, because I didn't grow up in the Philippines. I grew up here. I grew up here in the United States. They call me white on the inside. And so I can handle that. I don't give a crap because I call them fobs. What's a fob? Fresh off the dadgum boat. Fob, fresh off the boat. So, they think that they are superior to me when it comes to me not being really Filipino. It's like they're fobs. They're fresh off the boat, baby. So anyway, I'm just kidding. Kind of not kidding. But look, the thing about rejection is this. It's kind of like if you went out to someone, let's say you're at a cookout and everyone got a hot dog and you were passing out the ketchup and you're saying, hey, would you like ketchup on your hot dog? Are you a ketchup or mustard person? They say, nah, can't stand ketchup on my hot dog, but I'll take mustard. All right, cool. And then you go to the next person, ketchup or mustard? No, neither. I like just, I like my hot dogs neat, like whiskey. I don't like anything on it. Now personally, I'm a ketchup and mustard guy. So yeah, I'll take both. But if they say no, it doesn't mean they're saying no to you. It's the exact same thing, right? So when you encounter rejection, they're not rejecting you. It has to be this running tape in your mind. Okay. But what are other benefits of rejection? Here's the benefit of rejection is that it will cause you to know that you're in your comfort zone. See, because how do you know you're in a comfort zone? It's because you're not getting rejected. That's how you know you're in a comfort zone. The only time you're not in your comfort zone is when you're getting rejected, when you're feeling that feeling, when you're going out and not feeling comfortable, but going out there and putting yourself out there, and then boom, you get rejected. Boom, you get rejected. You know, it's the concept. This is a book. I read this book. It's called Feel the Fear, but Do It Anyway. Feel the fear and do it anyway. You got to look that book up. I think it's a Christian author, woman, but it's a great book. Look, man, fear is a natural part of being a human being, right? It's okay to be fearful. It's okay to be scared of rejection, but it's what you do about it is what makes all the difference in the world. Here's the problem: when you don't take action from fear, you're going to be doomed to live the life that you're currently living, never be going beyond what it is you want to accomplish in your life. You never achieve without overcoming fear. You never achieve without taking risks. You'll never achieve without getting out of your comfort zone. That's just how this world works, right? So if you're satisfied at staying where you are, then stay in your comfort zone and never get rejection, right? Feel the fear and do it anyway. Now, here's the thing, which is really cool. So there's this thing called a way to desensitize your feelings from rejection. It's actually called rejection therapy. Okay. And rejection therapy is just, it's an interesting way. So here's kind of how it works. And this is actually a real story of my son. So my son, Athen, was going through pilot training. This was like maybe 3 months ago. And Athen was having air sickness problems, and being a pilot, going through pilot training with air sickness problems is not a good thing. Okay. Because when you're barfing up in a bag and you're flying around, you have to go to the flight surgeon and you have to report that you got airsick. And you actually can, get kicked out for not controlling air sickness. You actually get kicked out. And he was just freaking out, going, "Oh my God, I'm just getting sick all the time." Because he's flying in all these maneuvers with his instructor pilot. And so he had a choice. So he decided to take that choice. And the choice is to go through the chair. It's called the chair. And the chair is a chair that you sit in, and it spins you around in different axes, like spin this way, that way. And what they try to do is they try to get you so nauseated before you throw up. And then they stop the chair. And then they start it up again and spin you around until right before you're going to throw up. And it's about 10, 15 minutes of doing this. And they got to do it every day for about a week. And it's to desensitize them from getting airsick. And it actually worked for him. Some years in pilot training, they actually did not allow students to go through that. They give them a patch, air sickness patch. But some years they didn't allow students to go through the chair. Now they do. And so he went through that hell. He goes, "I hated it every time." But now he doesn't get airsick because he totally got desensitized, right, by going through that. And so it's that idea that the more rejection that you go through, the stronger you will be, the less sensitive you are to rejection. So the more you do it, the better it is for you. And here's an example. It's kind of like rejection. The top, famous people have been rejected like crazy, like C.S. Lewis. C.S. Lewis, the author, was rejected 800 times before he got his book published. Colonel Sanders, famous story, he got rejected 1,000 times before someone would accept his recipe for fried chicken, 1,009 times. Walt Disney was turned down 302 times before finally getting a deal to finance, Disneyland, right? And so this whole idea of getting out of your comfort zone allows you to get better and better and better. So I want to play this video on this whole idea of rejection therapy.
When I was 6-year-old, I received my gifts. My first grade teacher had this brilliant idea. She wanted us to experience receiving gifts, but also learning the virtue of complimenting each other. So she had all of us come to the front of the classroom, and she bought all of us gifts and stacked them in the corner. And she said, "Why don't we just stand here and compliment each other? If you hear your name called, go and pick up your gifts and sit down. What a wonderful idea, right? What could go wrong? Well, there were 40 of us to start with, and every time when I hear someone's name called, I would give out the heartiest cheer. And then there were 20 people left, and 10 people left, and 5 left, and 3 left. I was one of them. And the compliments stopped. Well, at that moment, I was crying, and the teacher was freaking out. And she was like, hey, would anyone say anything nice about these people? No one? Okay, why don't you go get your gift and sit down, so behave next year, someone might say something nice about you. Well, as I'm describing this to you, you probably know I remember this really well. But I don't know who felt worse that day. Was that me or the teacher? She must have realized that she turned a team building event into a public roast for 3 6-year-olds. And without the humor, when you see people get roasted on TV, it was funny. There was nothing funny about that day. So that was one version of me, and I would die to avoid being in that situation again, to get rejected in public again. That's one version. Then fast forward 8 years, Bill Gates came to my hometown, Beijing, China, to speak, and I saw his message. I fell in love with that guy. I thought, wow, I know what I want to do now. That night, I wrote a letter to my family telling them by age 25, I will build the biggest company in the world, and that company will buy Microsoft. I totally embraced this idea of conquering the world, domination, right? And I didn't make this up. I did write that letter, and here it is. You don't have to read this through, and this is also bad handwriting, but I did highlight some keywords. You get the idea. So that was another version of me wanting to conquer the world. Well, then 2 years later, I was presented with the opportunity to come to the United States. I jumped on it, and because that was where Bill Gates lived, right? So I thought that was the start of my entrepreneur journey. Then fast forward another 14 years, I was 30. Nope, I didn't build that company. I didn't even start. I was actually a marketing manager for a Fortune 500 company, and I felt I was stuck. I was stagnant. Why is that? Where is that 14-year-old who wrote that letter? It's not because he didn't try. It's because every time I had a new idea, every time I wanted to try something new, even at work, I wanted to make a proposal, I wanted to speak up in front of people in a group, I felt there was this constant battle between the 14-year-old and the 6-year-old. One wanted to conquer the world, make a difference. Another was afraid of rejection. And every time, that 6-year-old won. And this fear even persisted after I started my own company. I mean, I started my own company when I was 30. If you want to be Bill Gates, you got to start sooner or later, right? When I was an entrepreneur, I was presented with an investment opportunity, and then I was turned down. And that rejection hurt me. It hurt me so bad that I wanted to quit right there. But then I thought, hey, would Bill Gates quit after a simple investment rejection? Would any successful entrepreneur quit like that? No way. And this is where it clicked for me. Okay, I can build a better company, I can build a better team or better product, but one thing for sure, I gotta be a better leader. I gotta be a better person. I cannot let that 6-year-old keep dictating my life anymore. I have to put him back to his place. So this is where I went online and looked for help. Google was my friend. I searched, how do I overcome the fear of rejection? I came up with a bunch of psychology articles about where the fear and pain are coming from. Then I came up with a bunch of rah-rah inspirational articles about, don't take it personally, just overcome it. Who doesn't know that? But why was I still so scared? Then I found this website by luck. It's called rejectiontherapy.com. Rejection therapy was this game invented by this Canadian entrepreneur. His name is Jason Comley. And it's basically the idea is for 30 days, you go out and look for rejection. And every day get rejected at something, and by the end, you desensitize yourself from the pain. And I love that idea. I said, you know what, I'm gonna do this, and I'll film myself getting rejected 100 days. And I came up with my own rejection ideas, and I'll make a video blog out of it. And so here's what I did. This is what the blog looked like. Day one. Borrow $100 from stranger. So this is where I went to where I was working. I came downstairs and saw this big guy sitting behind the desk. He looked like a security guard. So I just approached him, and I was just walking, and that was the longest walk in my life. I just hair at the back of my neck standing up. I was sweating, and my heart was pounding. And I got there and said, "Hey, sir, can I borrow $100 from you?" And he looked up. He's like, "No." "Why?" And I said, "No, I'm sorry." Then I turned around and just ran. I felt so embarrassed. But because I filmed myself, so that night I was watching myself getting rejected, I just saw how scared I was. I looked like this kid in Sixth Sense. I saw dead people. But then I saw this guy, he wasn't that menacing. He was a chubby, lovable guy, and he even asked me why. In fact, he invited me to explain myself. I could have said many things. I could have explained, I could have negotiated. I didn't do any of that. All I did was run. I felt, wow, this is like a microcosm of my life. Every time I feel the slightest rejection, I would just run as fast as I could. And you know what? The next day, no matter what happens, I'm not gonna run. I'll stay engaged. Day two, request a burger refill. This is where I finished, went to a burger joint, I finished lunch, and I went to the cashier and said, "Hey, can I get a burger refill?" And he was all confused. I was like, "What's a burger refill?" I said, "Well, just like a drink refill, but what's a burger?" And he said, "Sorry, we don't do burger refill, man." So this is where rejection happened. I could have run, but I stayed. I said, "Well, I love your burger, I love your joint, and if you guys do a burger refill, I will love you guys more." And he said, "Well, okay, I'll tell my manager about it. Well, maybe we'll do it, but sorry, we can't do this today." Then I left. And by the way, I don't think they ever done burger refill. I think they're still there. But the life and death feeling I was feeling the first time was no longer there, just because I stayed engaged, because I didn't run. I said, "Wow, great, I'm already learning things." Great. And then day three, getting Olympic donuts. This is where my life was turned upside down. I went to a Krispy Kreme. It's a donut shop mainly in the southeastern part of the United States. I'm sure they have some here too. And I went in and said, "Can you make me donuts that look like Olympic symbols?" Basically, you interlink 5 donuts together. I mean, there's no way they could say yes, right? The donut maker took me so seriously. So she put out a paper, started jotting down the colors and the rings. It's like, how could I make this? And then 15 minutes later, she came out with a box that looked like Olympic rings. And I was so touched. And I just couldn't believe it. And that video got over 5 million views on YouTube. The world couldn't believe that either. And because of that, I was on in newspapers and talk shows and everything, and I became famous. A lot of people started writing emails to me and saying, what you're doing is awesome. But fame and notoriety did not do anything to me. What I really want to do was learn and to change myself. So I turned the rest of my 100 days of rejection into this playground, into this research project. I wanted to learn, see what I can learn. And then I learned a lot of things. I discovered so many secrets. For example, I found if I just don't run, if I got rejected, I could actually turn a no into a yes. And the magic word is why. So one day, I went to a stranger's house, I had this flower in my hand, and I said, knocked on the door, I said, "Hey, can I plant this flower in your backyard?" and he said, "No." But before he could leave, I said, "Hey, can I know why?" And he said, "Well, I have this dog that would dig up anything I put in the backyard. I don't want to waste your flower. If you don't do this, go across the street and talk to Connie. She loves flowers." So that's what I did. I went across and knocked on Connie's door, and she was so happy to see me. And then half an hour later, there's this flower in Kanye's backyard. I'm sure it looks better now. But had I left after the initial rejection, I would have thought, well, it's because the guy didn't trust me. It's because I was crazy, because I didn't dress up well, I didn't look good. It was none of those. It was because what I offered did not fit what he wanted. And he trusted me enough to offer me a referral, using a sales term. I converted that referral. Then one day, I also learned that I can actually say certain things and maximize my chance to get a yes. So for example, one day I went to a Starbucks and asked the manager, hey, can I be a Starbucks greeter? He's like, what's a Starbucks greeter? I said, do you know those Walmart greeters? You know, those people who say hi to you before you walk in the store and make sure you don't steal stuff, basically. And I want to give a Walmart experience to Starbucks customers. Well, I'm not sure that's a good thing, actually. Actually, I'm pretty sure it's a bad thing. And he was like, oh, yeah, this is how he looked. His name is Eric. He was like, I'm not sure. This is how he was hearing me. I'm not sure. Then I asked him, is that weird? He's like, yeah, it's really weird, man. But as soon as he said that, his whole demeanor changed. It's as if he's putting all the doubt on the floor. And he said, yeah, you can do this, and just don't get too weird. So for the next hour, I was the Starbucks greeter. I said hi to every customer that walked in and give them holiday cheers. By the way, I don't know what your career trajectory is. Don't be a greeter. It was really boring. But then I found I could do this because I mentioned, is that weird? I mentioned a doubt that he was having. And because I mentioned, is that weird? That means I wasn't weird. That means I was actually thinking just like him, seeing this as a weird thing. And again, I learned that if I mention some doubt people might have before I ask the question, I gain their trust. People will more likely to say yes to me. And then I learned I could fulfill my life dream by asking. You know, I came from 4 generations of teachers. And my grandma has always told me, hey, Jia, you can do anything you want, but it'd be great if you become a teacher. But I want to be an entrepreneur, so I didn't. But it has always been my dream to actually teach something. So I said, what if I just ask and teach a college class? So I lived in Austin at the time, so I went to University of Texas in Austin, knocked on professors' doors and said, can I teach your class? I didn't get anywhere the first couple times, but because I didn't run, I kept doing it, and on the 3rd try, the professor was very impressed. It's like, no one has done this before. And I came in prepared with the PowerPoints and my lesson. It's like, well, I can use this. Well, when you come back in 2 months, I'll fit you in my curriculum. And 2 months later, I was teaching a class. This is me. You probably can't see this. This is a bad picture. You know, sometimes you get rejected by lighting, you know. But when I finished teaching that class, I walked out crying because I thought I could just fulfill my life dream just by simply asking. I used to think I have to accomplish all these things, have to be a great entrepreneur or get a PhD to teach. But no, I just asked and I could teach. And in that picture, which you can't see, I quoted Martin Luther King Jr. Why? Because in my research, I found the people who really changed the world, who changed the way we live and the way we think, are the people who were met with initial and often violent rejections. People like Martin Luther King Jr., like Mahatma Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, or even Jesus Christ. These people did not let rejection define them. They let their own reaction after rejection define themselves. And they embrace rejection. And we don't have to be those people to learn about rejection. And in my case, rejection was my curse, was my boogeyman. It has bothered me my whole life because I was running away from it. Then I started embracing it. I turned that into the biggest gift in my life. I started teaching people how to turn rejections into opportunities. I used my blog, I used my talk, I used the book I just published, and I'm even building technology to help people overcome their fear of rejection. When you get rejected in life, when you are facing the next obstacle or next failure, consider the possibilities. Don't run. If you just embrace them, they might become your gifts as well. Thank you.
Yeah, this kid rocks. He was really just really powerful, right? I mean, when you think about, what he was doing, it's totally rejection therapy. Oh, I love what he said. So, so when you're kind of reading up on this guy's name, Ja, here's some of the other things he did. So he walked into a hairdresser and asked to get his hair cut like a German Shepherd. Okay. He actually knocked on the door of a Super Bowl party with a bag of chips and asked for people he didn't know and asked if he could join the party. They said, "Sure, come on in." He took a soccer ball and walked up to someone's home and said, "Can I kick the soccer ball in your backyard?" I think it said, "Sure." He asked a police officer, "Hey, can I drive your car and pretend I'm a police officer?" And the cop let him do it. Said, "Sure." The other one, what he do? He was on a plane and asked if he could read the safety instructions, at the beginning of the plane, and they let him do it. Oh, it's crazy, man. So, look, I mean, do you have to go to that extent? Hey, man, just get some more leads and just keep on dialing. Just keep dialing, right? Anyway, so here's some things to think about when it comes to rejection. Rejection's a positive feedback mechanism. You got that negative aspect to it. Do you know it's a positive feedback mechanism? It's kind of like when you feel pain, you should probably address the pain. Why does this hurt? It's your body telling you, you got to take care of yourself. You got to, rejection is the same thing. It's a positive feedback mechanism. It triggers the notion of how can I get better at what I'm doing? Okay. Look, it's really, as I mentioned before, if you're not getting rejected, you're not getting out of your comfort zone. So really, the more rejection you get, you're walking down the right road, right? Rejection precedes growth, it precedes improvement. That whole idea that rejection precedes a big explosion in your business. So, look at rejection as a gauge on whether or not you're moving forward. Because what it will do is it will help you decide what to do to move forward with as a result of it. Okay, so use rejection as a motivator. It will fuel your need to take action and to perform, not settle back and not do something about it. Use it the way I used it, man. That whole idea of these white kids laughing at me, right? I use it as a chip on my shoulder. Anytime I've thought about moving forward, it's a chip on my shoulder, and I hear them laughing. It just makes me mad to prove myself. And, I don't know if that's healthy. Some people say, well, that's not healthy, Alex. You always got to prove yourself. Hey, man, whatever works, right? Whatever works. So anyway, use it as a motivator. Here's the other thing. Rejection is the key to build your perseverance. It's kind of like when you're working out, that the process of getting stronger and building muscle is you got to tear your muscle down for it to heal, right? And to become stronger. So tear down to become stronger, tear down to become stronger. And the more resistance that you encounter, the stronger you're going to be, because you're going to rise up. Your body's going to adapt to that resistance. Likewise, the more resistance you run into in dialing the phone, going out on appointments, doing all the crazy stuff we do in this business, that the bigger resistance, the bigger opportunity to grow. So that's super important, to use it as a way to build your perseverance. Here's the other thing. How do you know that you have resolve? It's kind of like, how do you know you have faith? You have faith when you're taking action, when you have to prove your faith. You can't just say, I have faith, right? Until you're challenged, right? Rejection tests our resolve. He mentioned it, Martin Luther King. All the peaceful protest that they turned on fire hoses on them to try to deter them. They did all kinds of, they killed people. But they kept the resolve. Gandhi, Jesus Christ. Rejection tests our resolve. How do you know you want something bad enough? Right? You know you want something bad enough because of what you're willing to put up with to get through it. It's kind of like the Air Force Academy. I think about this all the time because the Officer and Gentleman, right? And the Richard Gere character, all his whole squad, it was like a vacation weekend, and they all got to leave. Well, he got to stay. He was the only one that stayed because he stayed, Lou Gossett Jr.'s character put him through all this hell. It's like his own hell week during that weekend. And he was trying to get him to quit. You remember the scene where he's putting water on him and he's doing exercises and he's telling him to quit. And he said, "Why won't you quit?" And he says, "I've got no place to go. I've got no place to go." Right? Man, if you want something so bad like that, can you imagine what you could accomplish in your life? It's a tremendous opportunity, I think, in this business to prove yourself and test your resolve. So here's a great book that will help you. It's called Go for No. Okay. And I know you guys know what that book is. You've seen it. So let's go for no, baby. Go for no. Great book. You should get that book because it'll put the context of failure in the right place for you. Okay. And then, so I'll leave you with this. I'm going to wrap up with this.
What do you think the chances are of a guy like you and a girl like me ending up together?
Well, Lloyd, that's difficult to say, and we really don't...
Hit me with it. Just give it to me straight. I came a long way just to see you married. Just, least you can do is level with me. What are my chances?
Not good.
You mean not good like 1 out of 100?
I'd say more like 1 out of 1,000,000.
So you're telling me there's a chance? Yeah!
Oh my gosh. If you see that movie, it's one of the best scenes in the movie. Anyway, gang. So rejection is your opportunity. I think it's your opportunity for growth, your opportunity to take advantage of in order to become better and better in this business, right? Anyway, rock on, man. Appreciate everyone being on the call. Thank you. I hope this helped in some manner, shape, or form. I'm here to help. And let's get after it, gang. God bless. And let's get on leaderboard. Be resolved to go through rejection to get there. So God bless everybody. Take care. Bye.